Hello and welcome to the Transmission X Midnight News, where I push through the web of propaganda headlines to get to and to bring you to the real story. The first headline I see from CBS News. It reads, Pennsylvania's mail-in ballot process could cause vote count lag. Why wouldn't you mentally prepare for people when you need time to cheat? Got it. Let's see. What about NBC? Okay, this one looks interesting. Another promo for Elon, perhaps. We seem to get these once a day in the headlines. This one's pretty interesting, though. SpaceX catches Starship rocket booster in dramatic landing during fifth flight test. Let's look at some quotes in this article, actually. Let's see what they have to say about catching a Starship in mid-flight. So I guess they caught the Starship booster, not the Starship. Then they just finished flying halfway around the world and splashing back into the ocean. This article says, "Are you kidding me?" SpaceX communications manager Dan Huot, H-U-O-T, said on the company's webcast, "What we just saw, that looked like magic," Huot added. Well, it is Elon, and he's a billionaire, and if you're familiar with the all-seeing eye symbology, I'll just say this. So is she. Go ahead and look it up. Anyway, they do know that they can't leave, right? NASA states we are in a closed system. I won't get on my shtick there. Won't go that route. His rockets seem to hit something every time, though. I mean, we've all seen it. And then they just land back in the ocean. And, it's kind of what they always do. All right, let me stop. But we are talking about space, okay? The focus right after yesterday's midnight news seems to be about space. Let's find another headline here. AP News. Top headline reads, in an engineering feat, here it is again. Mechanical SpaceX arms catch Starship rocket booster back at the launch pad. Okay, so they had us at least looking up again, like I said, with these headlines. What else do we got? Okay, it looks like Fox took a traditional fear route here, but at least they got boots on the ground. This one's more localized. 1 killed and several injured after gunman goes on deadly rampage near college campus. Ooh. All right, what's the headline right under that? Former students, okay, they stick with the campus, the college age demographic there. Former students of prominent university accused of spying on military base for China. Well, now that's a story. That's not the story for me today, though, but that's a story. So there's your propaganda headlines, top headlines of the day, and I stuck with the U.S. only because we have so much happening in the U.S. that I'm not even going to go, I don't even have to go to the rest of the world, and I think the U.S., for us as patriotic Americans, should be our main focus because we have a lot of house cleaning, a lot of dirty laundry, that's for sure. Also, as I look at these news websites, we, the people back here at home, should be our top news until everything's hunky-dory here. And what we're doing that could affect our safety here, what we're doing in the rest of the world, I believe should be top headlines for U.S. news, not just world news, U.S. news. But that's just me. If I was the head of a newsroom, I would make our actions, especially our military actions, overseas, top stories for U.S. news. I don't care where they're happening. They directly affect our soldiers here. And, on that note, today is difficult because I'm scrolling through here, and I did look at the news earlier today. I try to get ahead of stuff, and I see news agencies trying to deflect from the grim realities of what is actually going on sometimes. Sometimes they fear-monger, but sometimes they're just not honest enough, and they bury huge stories under those headlines I just read you. But I still was able to find something that would have been all over the airwaves in the 40s. And I thought it was really interesting. But before I go there, speaking about we the people and safety, and, I come from a military family. Everyone in my family, almost, chose not only the military route, but we're a family full of veterans. I did not choose that route because of what I heard and saw from, basically I learned my lesson at the dinner table, okay? So I did not choose that route, but my family members did. We have a long history in the military. And not only that, police officers as well. They decided not only to serve their country, but serve their locality when they got back home. And not for nefarious reasons. I don't come from a background full of money. They did it for patriotic and good reasons. They wanted to help people, wanted to make a good difference. And I have a message to all of our wonderful men and women in our armed forces. Because what I saw today was a world posturing for war. And I, Nate Allen, I have a message that I have to use this platform sometimes to get really candid, really upfront. And tonight's going to be, next couple minutes, I'm going to be using this platform, okay? And like I said, my family, they're all a family full of veterans. And they all dedicated their lives willingly. So I understand the warrior mentality. Believe me, I have it. But from the bottom of my heart, I need to say this before I get into the rest of the transmission. I may repeat this every transmission, matter of fact, during these times, because it is so important that this message get out. I implore each and every one of you in our armed forces to come together and refuse your orders if your orders are to fight overseas, to fight a strange enemy that you have no qualms with. I, for one, I don't know if I'm going to be the only one to say this, but I will. I want you to refuse to make that move. I want for our wonderful men and women to protect our country, but protect it here at home. I want you to protect your families, your towns, your homes, not just from offshore enemies, but as you can see what's happening now, I want you to help protect it from infiltration from within. Do not fight these old men's wars when you and I and every patriotic American just end up losing. Because even if we win, we lose some of you and your family. And the war machine and the world banks, they'll win. They'll win no matter what, no matter who wins. Remember that. Just know your history. Look what the Rothschilds did in France. I mean, do you understand that? They win no matter who wins. Their money's on both sides. And they get to win in the comfort of their bunkers and their ivory towers and on their islands. Lord knows they have islands. And we all lose here at home if you decide to engage. We all love you. They do not. And it looks like we're going to need you here, not halfway across the world. Train your sons to protect. Help your communities understand the danger of what's out there. But if they command you to go fight in another war hawk country's battle, please, please refuse. And I know the repercussions of this. That is how they hold their thumb over your head. And those are serious repercussions. But do you want to make that decision? Or do you want your children to make that decision? How long are we going to be afraid to stand up and just say no? For fear of jail? Look at Jeremy Brown. Research Jeremy Brown. And others like him. They're already going through it. Do you want your children to go through that? I don't. I would gladly, for saying not that I don't want to fight. If it ever comes to that, if they ever enter my doorstep and they try to force me into cars like they were doing to Ukrainian citizens, and I just refuse, and well, they say, well, then we'll torture you, or well, I hope that I can just say no. And that's my hope for you too. Because if the world comes together, if we all come together on that one ideal, you know, anyone can be a Republican or a Democrat and we can fight, and I do think that liberal ideology is the ruin of the world. But if we all can come together on one ideal, don't fight these old men's wars. Don't fight anyone you don't have a problem with. And then if they have a problem with you, you know they've been programmed to. Try to handle things without going that route. And if we do that, what will they be left with? A room full of old men? Do you think any one of them will fight each other? Do you think one bullet would ever be fired? No, not one. They need you to do their dirty work. And they need you because they are all involved in this weird death cult. They need you to die for it. And just remember, thou shalt not murder. Think about that. All right, that is all. I had to get that off my chest because it hits home, and I love all of you, especially those of you in the armed forces. And I just see these old war hawk mentality, military-industrial complex types. I see them just drooling right now at all the money they'll make and all the death that will happen. So, now let's get back to this transmission. And I had to get that message across. But now it's time for the day's real story. And in that same energy of fear and war, in 1938, there was a famous broadcast by the very famous at the time, Orson Welles. And it was a World the World series. So, even though we had China and Russia flying in formation in our airspace today, and even though Iran fired missiles, and then you got China circling Taiwan, okay? So the bells of war were ringing loud and clear today, okay? So that is the story. But I found something a little heavier and a little more out there, and something I want you to pay attention to that I think is the real story. So as I was saying, 1938, Orson Welles releases this radio broadcast, and people go into a panic because they thought it was real. And I'll let you listen to a little clip from it, but pretty much to sum it up, he said aliens were attacking a town and that there were boots on the ground, and you could hear the reporter talking about it and people screaming, but you got to hear it. And just think how powerful media can be. So just like your headlines are filled with propaganda and Their stories are spun however the machine, the media machine, wants you to hear it. They were doing this all the way back then, just as a hoax almost. I mean, he had to get on air and apologize for it. But here, I found it really interesting, so maybe you will too. Give it a listen.
We now return you to Carl Phillips at Grover's Mill.
Ladies and gentlemen, Marion. Ladies and gentlemen, here I am, back of a stone wall that adjoins Mr. Wilmer's garden. From here, I get a sweep of the whole scene. I'll give you every detail as long as I can talk and as long as I can see. More state police have arrived. They're drawing up a cordon in front of the pit. About 30 of them. No need to push the crowd back now. They're willing to keep their distance. The captain's conferring with someone. Can't quite see who. Oh, yes, I believe it's Professor Pearson. Yes, it is. Now they've parted, and the professor moves around one side, studying the object, while the captain and two policemen advance with something in their hands. I can see it now. It's a white handkerchief tied to a pole. Flag of truce. If those creatures know what that means, what anything means. Wait a minute, something's happening. Humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Oh, Lord, they're turning into flames. Oh, the whole field's caught up by the woods, the barns, the gas tanks for the automobiles, spreading everywhere. Coming this way now, about 20 yards to my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover's Mill. Evidently, there's some difficulty with our field transmission. However, we will return to that point at the earliest opportunity. In the meantime, we have a late bulletin from San Diego, California. Professor Indelkoffer, speaking at a dinner of the California Astronomical Society, expressed the opinion that the explosions on Mars are undoubtedly nothing more than severe volcanic disturbances on the surface of the planet. We continue now with our piano interlude.
Whether that was a test, because he had to apologize, remember that, or that was just merely theater, that was fake. That was fake. Obviously, we know that now, but back then, his listening audience, a lot of them went out into the streets. A lot of them thought that was real. They thought a Martian invasion was taking place. Well, I bring that up and I play you that clip because while I was scouring the news, I found TikTok videos that were really interesting. And it made me think of that 1938 Orson Welles classic, okay? But see, these that I'm about to play for you, they're real. They're from real people seeing real things. There's no fake actors in a studio screaming. And I must warn you ahead of time, they do involve curse words. So usually my transmissions are clean, but sometimes life happens and adults will say some things. So if you have sensitive ears, earmuffs. Okay? Just for the next couple minutes, but these are very interesting to listen to. One you're going to hear is in Arlington, Virginia, and the other in Raleigh. Both the same incident, 4 hours apart from one another. Are you ready? Give them a listen.
I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. Please tell me if anybody saw this. But I was coming back from the gym off of this back road outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. And we're like the road and the trees and the sky opens up. What the I swear I saw giant sparks, like a plane, like maybe on fire or like, I don't know. But it was like there was sparks across the sky and it left like a huge like illuminated smoke trail like behind it for a long time. And then like 3 seconds later, the biggest aircraft I've ever seen in my life flies right over my truck, and it was completely silent, and it had like 4 flashing lights on it. What the fuck? And then now, like right outside, I'm here for work, living in a hotel, and right outside my hotel, there's like like 4 black undercover police officers just like posted up at an intersection. I don't know what the did I just see? Someone please tell me they saw this. This happened like 5 minutes ago, and I can't find anything on it. There's like no sirens. Like, what the fuck?
Okay, that's the first one. Here's the second one.
Okay, I do not know what's going on right now. I heard a noise. I come outside. There's sirens blaring, and I see this huge trail in the sky. It's midnight right now, and there's this huge trail like something crash landed. What the heck is that? What is this? I wonder if there's anything on the news about this.
And of course, nothing on the news about this. Those are 2 different places. And you can look up, if you look up DC Crash site on TikTok or Raleigh UFO, you will see the videos. Giant plumes of smoke hurling down, law enforcement everywhere. There's even one where this gentleman's in a parking lot, and there are military and police cars everywhere around Arlington. Now, were they seeing UFOs? I don't know. But it made me think of that Orson Welles broadcast. And what's interesting about that Orson Welles broadcast, it happened in 1938. It was approximately 3 years prior to the U.S. entering World War II. So it's very suspicious to me, now that we have those happenings occurring while like I said, the war bells seem to be ringing. And another thought. I remembered this quote from Ronald Reagan. I'll never forget it because it was so strange to me when I heard it as a child. He said, "I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world." And then my conspiracy theory brain went crazy because I also have studied pretty much every conspiracy out there, and immediately I'm thinking Project Bluebeam. And that's pretty much what that is the plot for a totalitarian world government to take over by destroying Abrahamic religions and replacing them with a New Age belief system using futuristic NASA technology. It sounds crazy. But what do we have? We have NASA and the James Webb Telescope, and we have them talking about everyone's eyes are in space right now. And then we have the world it seems like World War III is literally on our doorstep. And basically they use Project Bluebeam. Why it's called Project Bluebeam is it's supposed to be technology, almost like advanced holographic technology, that they project something like a world-to-world scenario, and they have actors and act it out, and people believe it. People believe what they're seeing in their skies. I mean, you guys remember Las Vegas when they have those musicians that have died, when they put them on stage, that you can barely tell. And that's with the private sector technology. You can barely tell that they're not standing up there. Just imagine what our military-industrial complex has. And so anyway, you get people looking at futuristic holograms, and it's terrifying. Who do you turn to? Well then, what do you have? Remember the transmission from yesterday? You have the UN going around trying to say, well, if we have a crisis, then, we're gonna need your sovereignty as a nation, okay? So they step in, save the day. So we think they get to introduce probably their Antichrist figure using these holograms, and everyone unites. This is the weird type of stuff that this death cult has been slowly leaking out. Alex Jones has talked about it, many others have talked about it, but it's interesting what's happening now because, like always, you're getting the real deal, the real stories from people, Average people on the ground, not the news. This was silent in the news. So their idea to stage something so real that the world will come together and lean on good old world government out of fear? I mean, they did have everybody driving around in their cars with masks on, did they not? Think about it. Did they not? I mean, that's even conspiracy theorists. We're expecting disease, war, police states, and the like. But just make sure you add to your apocalypse bingo card. Just make sure you leave a space for extraterrestrial antichrists, shown to you with crazy technology that may or may not be provided by NASA or the military. And that will all be provided to you free of charge from your neighborhood totalitarian globalist government, the New World Order. And that, my friends, is the real story. So as always, be the light in the dark for your friends and family that need it. Remember to now not only look to the stars, but look for falling spaceships and angry extraterrestrials while you're at it. Do all of that, but most importantly, and I can't not stress this enough, most importantly, be ready.